Okay, welcome in. I'm now going to be making my previews for week number 7 of the NFL season. Can't believe I always say this every week. I can't believe we're already here already. We're basically almost 2 months into the NFL season. Next week would obviously be 2 months exact. So it's crazy how fast time really flies. So heading to week number 7, there's only two teams that have their bye week. That's the Chicago Bears, 4-2, very impressive by the way, and the Dallas Cowboys, who are 3-3. And I think they definitely need a week off, recover, and try to prove to everyone that they are a legitimate playoff team. Because after last week's drubbing, it's hard to tell. This team is just very inconsistent, just my opinion. So there's 15 games on tap, and this one's going to be intriguing, not just because it's the team that I cheer for. The Denver Broncos are heading into New Orleans to take on the Saints. The Broncos are coming off a loss, or 3-3. The New Orleans Saints are sitting at 2-4 after their loss as well. The big storyline for this one is obviously this past off season. Sorry, no, last off season. I apologize. The New Orleans Saints basically traded their head coach to the Denver Broncos, Sean Payton, and he's obviously now the head coach for the Broncos in year number 2, trying to right the ship. And if not, it's going to be like a decade of darkness for us Broncos fans. It's too long. We need to have a good team again. But anyways, so it's going to be a very intriguing matchup. I think Dennis Allen I could be taking. Is that obviously he would have been like an assistant or something when Sean Payton was there, so he obviously learned from the coach how to be a leader. And now obviously he's taking the reins for the Saints. I'm going to go with my heart on this one. I say the Broncos go in and get a big win. And this is a make or break for pretty much every team this week. I'll tell you why, because obviously if the Saints drop to 2-5, then they're going to be 3 games below 500, and it'll be even tougher to try to chase for a playoff spot. And for the Broncos, 3-4 after the loss doesn't sound that terrible after 7 weeks, but there are other teams that already have 4 or 5 wins respectively, and if you fall 2 games behind them, good luck playing catch up. So if as long as Bo can be Bo and show up, and they can play more than one quarter of offense, I believe the Broncos should be victorious in this matchup. Another early game, I believe the Jaguars just stayed in England, and the Patriots just had to fly over during the off week, or during the week, I should say. So the Jaguars are playing obviously their second consecutive game in London, and I believe they are going to right the ship in this one. If they lose both games in London, I think the season ticket holders there are like, you know what, it's not worth paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to see the team lose. I mean, I'm sure it's very entertaining, and I'm sure there are obviously NFL fans all around the world. That's why they have games in different countries. But for a Jaguars fan and for them respectively, they need to get this win, because if you drop this one and go to 1-6, then there's going to be a lot of finger pointing, and there could be some potential fires. So this is a very, very, I'm sure, stressful week for this club, but they need this win over the Patriots, and the Patriots are also 1-4 in this one, so it's just a matter of 1-5, I should say, in this one. So some team is bound to get their second win of the season, and I truly believe the Jaguars should have a little bit of redemption after losing last week to the Bears, and I believe they should come away with the victory and try to salvage their season. Alrighty, back to North America. We have a battle, very intriguing, as the Atlanta Falcons are playing host to the Seattle Seahawks. The Atlanta Falcons are sitting at 4-2. The Seahawks are 3-3 after their Thursday night loss to the 49ers. I want to take Atlanta in this one. I think they're just going to keep rolling. There's a reason they got Kirk Cousins. He's been very clutch, and he's been showing that he can be very consistent as well. This is a very good team, and they could be playoff bound at this rate. So I will take the Falcons over the Seahawks in this matchup. The 1-5, I believe, 1-4 Tennessee Titans, I forgot they had a break, are taking on the 4-2 Buffalo Bills. It's Bills all day for me. I just don't see how Josh Allen really has an off switch at this point. He's definitely cooking, to say the least, and he should propel this Bills squad to a 5-2 record after the Week 7 matchup. Alrighty, so there's a few matchups here that I will probably talk a little bit longer compared to others, but this one here, I could probably go on for half an hour, but I'll try to keep it short. Battle of the NFC North, two teams that are underachieving, to say the least. The 1-5 Cleveland Browns, very, very poor season, taking on the 2-4 Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals coming off their second win of the season last week in New York, and the Browns' season is still crumbling before their eyes. So If Joe Burrow can play as consistent as he has been, and their offense can really step it up, I truly believe the Bengals have this one in the bag. No disrespect to the Browns, but Watson's play the entire season, it's enough to want to make you puke. And I'm not trying to sound so hostile, but it's a lot of money to be playing a guy with so much talent, but not as much talent at the same time. Like he's overpaid. We'll put it that way. So unless he has an absolute breakout game and he can, throw for more than an X amount of yards and get a few touchdowns and avoid fumbles and sacks and turnovers, it's a tall task. We'll put it that way. So that's why I'm taking the Bengals over the Browns, and I believe that heads are going to roll in Cleveland to say the least. Especially since there was such hype around this team, and if I had enough time to make my predictions for each team, which I didn't, I definitely would have predicted the Browns could have been in the wild card spot easily because of how successful they were just a year ago. So a very, very bad turnaround in less than a year's time. Alrighty, the 4-2 Green Bay Packers are playing host to the Houston Texans. Now, I'm sure a lot of people will say that it's getting cold, so it's going to be possibly favoring the teams northern of the border or northern of the country, I should say, compared to teams like in Texas who probably never, rarely, scarcely get snow. So it's starting to get to that time of weather. It's sweater weather, as I call it. And this one here, 5-1 Texans. I say the Texans keep on rolling. This is a very, very good team. I'm not trying to always bet against Green Bay, but on paper, and I believe the Texans are going to be favored in this matchup because they have a better record. I believe they will come away with an away victory, and it's not going to be like a huge loss for either squad because obviously, if the Texans happen to win, they'll be 6-1. If the Packers lose, they'll be 4-3. But it's really not that terrible because you're still above 500. 4-3 is a lot better than 3-4. Let's just put it that way. And obviously, if the Packers win, they'll improve to 5-2, and then the Texans will also have a 5-2 record. So, I mean, really, if the Texans happen to lose this game, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, considering look at the rest of the teams in their division. They're 3-3 with the Colts. Spoiler alert if you didn't already know that. And the Titans are 1-5, and then the Jaguars are 1-4 or 1-5. So, like, there's not a whole lot of heat behind the Texans. If they happen to lose this game, it's not going to be the end of the world. But I will take CJ Stroud in this matchup over Jordan Love. Alrighty, the 3-3 Colts, which I just mentioned previously, are taking on the 2-3 Miami Dolphins. For the Dolphins, this is obviously a very disappointing season, considering they obviously lost Tua due to a concussion, and they haven't been the same team since. They went up to Foxborough, and I think they won like 17-15. It was a very low score, to say the least. And they had their bye week just this past week, so they're obviously well rested coming into this matchup, taking on the 3-3 Colts. Which Colts are going to show up? They're going to be very inconsistent, very inconsistent. I did have them pick last week to win. They obviously lost, but I think this is going to be a bounce back game for the Colts and Quentin Richardson. I think they have a lot to prove. The Dolphins, no disrespect to them, but when you lose one of your best players, it's hard to recover from that. I think it's going to be a loss, and I think they will drop to 2-4. It's just bad luck, we'll put it that way, or unfortunate, whatever the case may be is. But just as talented as the Dolphins are, if you don't have your star quarterback throwing the ball and making plays, it's hard to really replace someone like that. So I truly think the Colts will get the victory over the Dolphins. Now, this is going to be the game of the week. The 5-0 Minnesota Vikings taking on the 4-1 Detroit Lions. I cannot be more excited. If there's one game I definitely want to watch, it's going to be this one. I think this is going to be an epic showdown. I think it'll be an offensive juggernaut show. I think there'll be a lot of touchdowns. I think it'll just be a madhouse, to say the least, in Minnesota. I think, obviously, when you look at the quarterbacks, you have the veteran Jared Goff for the Lions, and then you have Sam Darnold, who has had an absolute breakout season. Let's not kid ourselves with the Vikings this year with the injury to McCaffrey in the training camp, whatever it is. I'm going to take the Vikings in this one. I think that there's no fluke that they're 5-0. They are a very good team. They've put up a lot of points, and I think they're going to keep that momentum into this Week 7 matchup with their NFC foe, or one of their foes. All right, the New York Giants are 1-5. Very disappointing season, taking on the 3-2 Philadelphia Eagles. Obviously, a battle in the NFC East. I think the Eagles take this one easily. They should improve to 4-2, while the Giants' season starts kind of falling apart at this point. If you only have one win in the first 7 weeks, you can pretty much count yourself out of the playoffs. So obviously, if the Giants could win this one, fantastic. But I think they would drop to 2-5 if they were to lose this matchup. And then again, that's a pretty big, tall task to order if you want to get back into a playoff hunt. But yeah, I'd take the Eagles over the Giants in this game. The afternoon games. The Los Angeles Rams are coming off a bye week. They're sitting at 1-4. Very disappointing to say the least. And speaking of disappointments, the Las Vegas Raiders. And I'm not trying to take a shot at the Raiders because I'm a Broncos fan, but it just has not been a very good season. I'm not gonna spit on them to be PG about it, but they definitely Gardner Minshew got benched, and after they signed him in the offseason, so it's just I don't want to say it's one bad move after the other, but like when they pretty much gave up on David Carr, I don't know what direction they're really going. Like, is this a rebuild, a retool? Like, do they think O'Connell is their quarterback of the future? I really have no idea. So even though the Rams only have one win on this season, I'm still taking Los Angeles in this matchup. The veteran Matt Stafford, there's no way he's going to let the Rams fall 1-5. He'll be their savior, and knight in shining armor. He'll lead them to victory, and maybe they'll go on a winning streak. Who knows? But I will take the experience over the question marks when it comes to the Raiders. Alrighty, the Washington Commanders are playing host to the Carolina Panthers. The Washington Commanders are atop of the NFC East with a 4-2 record, and the Panthers are 1-5 after 6 weeks of play. So sorry, 1-5 after 6 weeks of play. I'm in the Commanders to win this one. I'd be very shocked if Carolina went into Washington and pulled off a victory. Not saying they couldn't. It would be a huge upset to say the least. But I just like what I see out of Washington. And after years of heartbreak and inconsistency, it's looking like it's finally paying off with their rookie quarterback and Campbell, I do believe. So there's a lot of faith behind him and a lot of potential with him as well. So I'm going to take him over the Carolina Panthers. Doesn't matter who they start at quarterback at this point. It's just they're so bad, and it's unfortunate because they were so competitive in like the 2010s and late into that season. Then obviously they went to the Super Bowl 8 years ago, but they really haven't been the same team since after losing basically Cam Newton as their starting quarterback. Already, he basically walked out of town or whatever. Anyway, I'm not getting into that drama or into that fiasco. Okay, this is going to be a very interesting matchup as we have the 3-3, I should say, San Francisco 49ers taking on the undefeated Kansas City Chiefs. Obviously, a rematch of last year's Super Bowl, and these two teams were possibly destined to go back-to-back with the Super Bowls, but the inconsistencies and injuries for the 49ers are really paying a toll on them. This could be a game that could make or break their season. I'm not saying 3-4 would be the end of the world, but this team just had such high hopes and high praise and high aspirations. If they fall through to 3-4, then it's going to be a tough to try to be the best in the NFC, considering other teams are possibly already have 4 or 5 wins as we speak. So a win here could go a long way, but a loss here could also go a long way in the other direction. And as for the Chiefs, they really have nothing to lose unless they want to try and play out a perfect season. If they were to take a loss right now, it wouldn't really affect them. Yes, you do have the Chargers who have 3 wins, but the Chiefs have 5. So even if the Chiefs lose, they'd still have a 2 or possible 1-game lead on the Chargers. So it wouldn't really be the end of the world if they lost. But it's hard to bet against the Chiefs, and that's coming from a Broncos fan. And I would love the day where they just don't make the playoffs. That would make me so happy, but that's probably like decades away from even happening because Mahomes is just ageable. I take the Chiefs in this one. They go to 6-0, and the 49ers drop to 3-4. Pittsburgh Steelers are playing host to the New York Jets. Now, this one here, the Steelers are 4-2. The New York Jets have the opposite record. They're coming in at 2-4. I'm taking the Steelers in this game. Yes, you really shouldn't bet against Aaron Rodgers, and he almost made a comeback happen against the Bills last week, but unfortunately it fell short. The Steelers have shown me more consistency with Justin Fields. I never would have thought I'd say that Justin Fields would beat an Aaron Rodgers team, but I think this could possibly happen. Maybe this is like a multiverse thing. I have no idea where he leads the Steelers to a victory, but they played very well with him as their starter after the trade in the offseason from the Bears. And I believe the Steelers should continue their successful season, and they should defeat the New York Jets. Sunday night matchup takes place. Sorry, Monday night matchup. There's two of them. I apologize. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are sitting at 4-2, and the Ravens have the exact same record as well. This is going to be a tough one to call. This is probably the flip of a coin. They're both pretty decent teams. The Ravens are obviously on a 3-game or 4-game winning streak, so they're looking very unbeatable. But this could be like a trap game as well, where they overlook Tampa Bay, and then maybe they're looking to their Week 8 opponent or their bye, whatever the case may be is. But you can't take the Buccaneers for very lightly. Baker's Baker, and there's a reason he was successful last year, and I believe he's going to repeat his success again this year. I want to say the Buccaneers, but I just have a little bit more faith that the Ravens' winning streak is going to continue in Tampa Bay. So they should improve to 5-2. And then the Buccaneers would be 4-3. So either way, they'd still both be above 500, regardless of the outcome. Alrighty, the last game on Monday takes place in Arizona, where we have the 2-4 Cardinals taking on the 3-2 Los Angeles Chargers. For the Cardinals, they lost last week. For the Chargers, they won. So they're both coming in off of different streaks. The Chargers are going to look to go into Arizona and possibly pull out a victory, which they can. Jim Harbaugh seems to be a very great coach. He obviously coached in the NFL with the 49ers prior to this, but then he spent, it felt like an eternity at Michigan for the college football team there. So his first year in the NFL is looking pretty successful. Justin Herbert is is going to be the quarterback, obviously, of the future for the Chargers and for years to come. He's basically, he's a great quarterback when he has a great coach. So he's looking like those two are gelling, which is fantastic for that organization. For the Cardinals, after years of disappointment, it looked like they were finally going to get their ish together. I think they got like 2 wins back-to-back, and then unfortunately they weren't able to win last week, so they're now 2-4. For the Cardinals, this is going to be a huge game because if they drop to 2-5, then again, I always say this with every video, and as the season gets closer and closer to ending, it's going to mean like every single game is going to be that much more meaningful. But a loss here, and the Cardinals might be looking at a very tall uphill climb to try to crawl. With that being said, I will go with the Chargers. I believe they should get the victory in Arizona. Alrighty, so that takes care of my previews for week number 7 of the NFL season. Last week, I finished with a record of 7-7. So now my overall record heading in to week number 7 is 49-29, I do believe, if I'm not mistaken. 49-29. So I'll put that right there. 49-29, I believe. So I'm still roughly 20 games above 500, give or take. We'll see how I do with my picks, and then I'll have my review for week number 7 uploaded by next Tuesday, and we'll go from there. Alrighty, as always, if you're new to this channel and you like this type of content, feel free to hit the sub button. I'd be very grateful and very appreciative. Until next time, and as always, take care.